Wait, what? No, guys, this is actually the weird baby stuff and the babushka and.
This reminds you of
This is all reminding me of something.
It seems oddly specific.
There's a reason this all went down, apparently. This is reminding me of, you guys ever hear of Amelia Dyer?
No.
Not at all.
No.
The Trill.
No.
Remember the Trill?
I know, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
We miss you, Trilly.
Amelia Dyer, born 1837, died 1896, is credited as being one of the most prolific murderers in British history. And I'm going to be quoting heavily from crimemuseum.org's article on Amelia Dyer, but there's plenty of information out there if you guys want to look her up, because
There's not that many female
nuts.
serial killers. It's
No.
always interesting to hear another one.
No.
nuts.
But they are brutal.
Oh, yes.
It takes a certain kind of coldness to reach this level of body count, I guess, but it seems mostly motivated by greed and just kind of a general disregard for human life. So
Fair enough.
we'll
Basic.
we'll delve into this.
Cool.
Basically started her career as a nurse and midwife, but in the mid 1860s she started getting work as a baby farmer, which during Victorian era England, finding a baby farmer was actually pretty easy. You basically
Throw out baby seeds. Throw out a bunch of baby seeds. Let them grow up.
They're
You just
all over the
harvest babies.
countryside.
unwanted, mothers with children who weren't able to care for them in whatever way, or they needed this child to go away, sold them to a foster home. It's basically like a nice word for foster care, right? But this is not, eventually they'll get put in some type of adoptive family or whatever. This is foster care for the afternoon, or foster care for a couple of weeks while they're being starved to death or something. This is foster care with the explicit goal of getting rid of this child. It's not
Like ghosting on this kid.
correct.
Like,
Oh.
I
We
have
don't
this
care what
kid.
happens to it.
Bye.
Right.
That's out.
But
That's awful.
the baby farmers were paid for their service. So
Was that the technical word for this?
I love it.
This is what it's. This is what it was.
That's
all
horrible.
the articles like baby farming.
Farmers.
Baby harvester is even
Yes.
worse.
So they have these children that the women show up with a check. They said the equivalent for today would have been around 1,000 euros or something like that. So like a decent amount of money for a
Price for a
Victorian
baby.
era England.
Fresh.
It's not a bad price.
You're giving that with the baby though. You're not
Oh,
in
that's
exchange. You give the baby and you give the money and say here, and I don't want this anymore. And then
So you're paying for them to take the baby.
correct.
Oh, wow.
This is like
Take
a
the baby.
this is
Wow.
like a cleaning
My
service.
baby.
It's just kind of.
So this is how Amelia Dyer made her money in the mid 1860s.
It's a living.
So there were many different ways that they got rid of the babies. Some they say probably never
The hell
even
of a
lasted
segue.
past. Some of them never even lasted past the afternoon that they had been given over to quote unquote the foster care of these baby farms. And they said other ways that they were finding that the children were dying were starvation, neglect, and then
really sad.
one of the sadder ones that I saw was the use of, it actually had a name, the mother's friend, an opium-laced syrup given to quiet the children as they suffered through their starvation.
Oh my God.
So they would end up killing these kids with basically overdosed opium syrup, which
Okay,
is probably one of the nicer ways to go.
So that was a hot shot basically of
Yeah.
opium given to kids.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Damn.
So this ended up being pretty lucrative for this woman. She was able to get quite a bit of money and elude
Just
authorities
babies
for years.
flying at her.
Well, yeah, people. It was there was a stigma.
Swindling them babies.
There was a
Slinging
stigma.
'em.
I mean, this is terrible. This woman is awful. Obviously, she's a horrible person. But the society created this condition that made it so that these women felt so. The option of having a child out of wedlock was so horrible to them that they had to give up this kid. It would ruin their status in society or ruin their positions.
Nothing
wherever
much
they were.
has changed in 2019,
Exactly.
I guess.
Mhm.
So there's that.
It's terrible.
We have laws now.
So eventually, someone got hip and called the authorities when they realized that a suspicious number of babies were being basically killed under her care or dying under her care. She was charged with neglect and sentenced to 6 months hard labor.
Where was this again?
England.
England.
They give
6
them
months?
6 months
That's
hard
it?
labor.
How
So
hard was labor, though?
you're breaking rocks in the hot sun.
That's pretty hard labor.
What do they do to those
She
rocks?
fought the law.
I mean, is it just they do some of the rocks? Is there a
break
goal, or they always just seem to be breaking up rocks
They
to break
make
up rocks?
1860 version of concrete with them.
Yeah,
With
like
rocks,
asphalt.
I guess.
You
Yeah.
bust it up
Okay.
into to gravel.
Good for them then.
Or what's that really nice flooring called? That just looks like broken rock marble.
Terrazzo?
Terrazzo.
I love that's what we have in my house. I
Yeah,
love
you do.
terrazzo.
Terrazzo's
I love
awesome.
terrazzo.
Yeah, Terrazzo's great.
It's indestructible for the most part.
Yeah.
Convicts. That's why.
Basically, this initial conviction taught her that she needs to stop going through doctors and claiming these babies dead, and so she got smart after her 6 months of hard labor, continued her practice, and
Oh my God, really?
switched
Right
it
back
up.
into it.
Switched it up to just dumping the bodies in the Thames River.
Whoa!
Oh my God.
Just get the authorities out of the way. Just dump them straight.
Yikes.
She wasn't even making money at this point? Or?
Just doing it for fun.
Just for funsies.
Damn.
We really had like an open afternoon. Gonna go hang out at Starbucks for a little bit. And then,
that's awful.
This is kind of like the opposite of The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
There's like too many babies. There's just way too many babies.
Right. Gotta just toss them in the river.
So they ended up finding one of the. Eventually, one of the bodies was recovered from the river.
It was a Daikini child
I don't know what that is.
from Willow. Laura Dannon.
Laura Dannon was
Wait,
okay.
Put her on a little
Willard?
Willow.
Willow, no. I have
Oh
not
god,
seen
it was so.
Put her on a little grass pallet and just send her
just
down the
floated
river.
down the river.
Yeah.
Well, no, this one was actually had.
They did that to Moses too, I think.
Yeah, baby Moses.
Yeah.
They called
Warwick
it-
Davis found the baby.
This is going to be a really awful segue because what I'm about to describe is definitely not
Bring
like
it.
is not what happened to Laura Dannon. Laura Dannon had a wonderful future. They found the remains in a heavy state of decomposition, but it was
Oh.
definitely a body that was packaged for some reason. I guess for shipping. I don't know if she thought that she was going to make it slick so that it looked like she was going to mail something and it fell off her
Shipping?
cart. Yeah, it had like an address on it. So basically, they ended up tracing one of these back to one of her aliases. Mrs. Thomas was one of her aliases. They ended up raiding this residence, and they ended up finding. They said basically initially they were overcome with the stench of human remains.
Oh.
And although no other bodies were found, they found several other pieces of evidence that linked her to that body that they recovered in the Thames, which
Damn.
was in particular, a white edging tape that was wrapped around the necks of the infants. That apparently was how she was strangling them.
Amelia.
Right?
Just, there is no soul in this person. There is no,
What?
that's next level because serial killers kill people and people can be horrible. These are just babies.
I mean, I feel like most people, no matter what, you see a baby, you're like, well, obviously this thing's helpless. I need to take care of this thing. She's like, nope.
Easy, free, just
What
a freebie.
an inconvenience you are.
And so easy to kill.
Yeah, I would imagine
No
that's
effort.
that's an evolutionary instinct to care
Usually,
for one of your species.
right? Yeah.
This woman definitely
Monsters exist, is what we're saying.
Yeah, she had something wrong with her. This is pretty dark. So they ended up.
Opposed to the pure rainbow that we've had before this.
This is a great
They've,
story, but this is awful.
they ended up dredging part of the Thames where they found the initial body and found a few more, and she was later quoted as saying that the ones with the white tape were mine. That's how you could tell it was one of mine.
So she took pride in it.
I don't know. It
tagged
does
them?
kind of sound like it was.
But
a
that
little bit
means
of
that
like a
there's
thing.
someone else out there is like, okay, did you find me with a purple tape? Okay, good.
No, that's Mary down the street.
Yeah.
That's not me.
She uses indigo on her white tape, and she
Oh,
got all
God.
fancy with it.
I told that woman, don't use white.
They'll never
That's
know it was
mine.
you.
It's mine.
So she was tried in Old Bailey in 1896. She used insanity as the defense, and it took the jury less than 5 minutes to reach the verdict: guilty.
Whoa.
She
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
She pleaded guilty to just one murder, but using the estimates based on the timelines and her years active, it said that she likely killed between 200 and 400 children.
Whoa! That is an impressive body count by any stretch.
On Wednesday,
Whoa.
June 10th, 1896, just before 9 a.m., Amelia Dyer was hanged. They believe that she was probably one of the most prolific killers in Britain's history.
Oh my
That
god.
hanging's too good for that person. That's something
Yeah,
that's like, we gotta
that's
figure out
too quick.
something new to do to you.
They got it
Yeah.
done pretty.
So
yeah.
she was 1830 to 1890.
I
So
think
she's
it was-
60.
What was it? She was born 1837 to 1896. No,
59.
59. Yeah.
They
Wow.
really should have put the white tape around her neck and around her hands and feet and just
Throw her
tossed
in the Thames?
river. Yeah, like
Yeah,
bang.
and then bring her back
Yeah.
out and do it again, and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
her right to the edge and bring her back and do
About-
that a bunch of times.
400 times.
You guys are talking about torture, and I don't mind.
Yeah,
It was-
there is a reason for
For that?
torture. It's for people like that.
Yeah.
It's not to get information from people. It's like, okay, you did horrible things, and you knew you're doing horrible things.
That's horrific.
Our turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so sad too to think about all of the children at that stage, the 19th century, who didn't or couldn't have children and probably wanted
Yeah.
Right.
at least one or two that they
Right.
could.
Well, obviously they went to the wrong neighborhood because they're just throwing them out the window at this one neighborhood.
That's awful.
The ones with the white tape are mine. What a creepy
that
thing
dark?
to say. Yeah.
Super dark.
And that means that she was brand loyal to
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's Miller's tape.
Don't say any.
Imagine being the tape salesman,
I know,
like in the neighborhood, and be
Miller's
like,
tape is
"Oh
like,
man, I
damn
saw
it.
Amelia all
Was
the
it the
time."
white? Oh, she kept on getting that white tape.
Oh.
She came in once a week and got tape. I was like, damn. Like,
She
fix your
goes through
house,
a lot
lady.
of tape. You use
Damn.
better tape than this. Okay, so obviously leaving your friends or wee babies in the care of matronly old babushka people is
Yeah, but-
dangerous.
but-
We might run foul a baby farmer.